Hi everyone, welcome. Today we are gonna dive deep into something real cool. Let's invoke this large AI model locally and in our project. We always know the AI, the ChatGPT, have the intelligence power, and how we can invoke this in our code. And let's introduce the newest model first. This GPT 4.1. And why we choose to study with the ChatGPT? Because let's be honest, there's a leading industry standard. The awesome part, the knowledge you gain from using OpenAI's API is super transferable. When you use other like a cloud, like Gemini, it's all the same. If you learn the Python, you can know more about the Java, the C. They are all connected, and there's only minimal adjustment needed for other models. So we will playing with this flagship model, ChatGPT 4.1, and this is the newest model, and it has three different type. We have this GPT 4.1, like the full. It has much power, but it is more expensive. And then we have this GPT Mini, and we have the GPT Nano. So we can see it has a pretty grown up and pretty progress than this old classic GPT 4.0. So let's study with this chat conversation API. This is for the text one. So this is our gateway. We will access it through the chat conversation endpoint. This API is designed to take both text and image inputs, let the large model do its thinking, and then return response in text format. Now, while it doesn't directly handle video and audio inputs through this specific chat API, mastering this foundation is absolutely crucial for building applications with large models because we lots of time we only need to put it the text or the image is all our want, and we can see here the API view. We can see there's a URL here, but in our code, we don't directly to call this URL because there's a Python SDK we can use more simply. We only need to know Python. We don't directly call this URL. So, and this URL is simply like a bridge. Like we don't need to have this huge large model in our computer. It's not a large model. We are talking about this online API. So the bridge between the user is our and the company of the OpenAI, and this large model is running on the OpenAI server. So let's send requests over the network to the OpenAI server, and they return the LM model the response to us. So it's only costs the network, and of course a little money is need to pay. So how to call this API? Here it is. We mostly use this function in the chat completion script, and we said before there's a URL, but we don't need to call this directly because there's a SDK, the OpenAI library, and the code is pre-coded in this SDK. So we only need to call several function, then we can have the response. So first, we need to install this OpenAI library, and we can run this in our terminal. Then it can download this OpenAI library. And let's try how to use this to. Next up, let's see this chat condition create function in action with a minimal example. This will help us understand how to use this API. It side is mainly about set the right parameters, call the function, and make sense of what comes back. To call this API, we first need an API key. The key is meaning connected with the client, your client, linking to your account, and it's like authenticate or authenticates to our account. And so we need to have this open API key. And once we have it, we can create a client. And there's a two choice, like we can create an environment variable as this name. Otherwise, if we can just write in here, there's a both ways. So if we already set up our OpenAI API key, which is here, environment variable, the SDK is smart enough to find it. And if not, we can pass this directly. But please keep your API key secret and safe. And now we build our client. If you have the environment variable, you use this. Otherwise, you can use this. And here is your private API key. And with a client ready, with our client ready, and we now can ask the model a question. And we need to tell the two main things. First, let our thinking about there's different model, right? The 4.1 mini, the 4.1 nano. So we need to tell them which model is what we need. And the second one is what our question is, right? So for model, for example, we have this GPT 4.1 nano is the most cheapest one. For the message, well, there is a list of direction. Well, for the message, there is a list of dictionaries. Each dictionary is a message and has two keys. First is role. This tells us who sent the message. It can be user, system, assistant, or tool. And the content is the actual message. For instance, the content. Can you share something facts about the Roma Empire, about the animal, interesting stuff, or our user's query? And let's see it in code. We have this function. See, we built this client before, right? And then this is a function. Why there's a function? Because we already do what? We already import this. This is client is created by this OpenAI SDK, and we use the client to call these questions. So we don't need to build it from zero. We just can catch it and use it. So there is two parameters, right? First is model. This is can be nano or this is can be mini, right? And then the message is the dictionary. And dictionary, we know there's two parameters, two attributes to one is role and the other is content. Role is user because I asked question, not the GPT response. And the content, right? The content here is what do we want to know, and can you share some interesting facts about animals? And so we have this response directly in the response. So the result is directly returned by the create function and stored in our response variable. We can this is the response. And about the animal interesting things, well, the octopus have three hearts and two pangolin, two gills, an elephant, and something stuff. We can try it another thing. Can you share some interesting facts about body? Let me see what our the human body, and then we can run this, and the result is no in the response. Let's check out the response. So here we can see the response now. It said the human brain is extremely complex. It contains about 86 billion neurons, which communicate through trillions of synapses. So here is the answer. At least we can have this ChatGPT API. We can simply add it in our website, and then we can just integrate this API in our website. And because this response is not just a text, right? There's a different attributes. as we can see the ID, right, the choices, and we can just because it's an object, so we can directly exercise it. Like type, this is, let me see what type it is. This is this type, this object, and then we can directly just have this ID. We can see it is the same with here, just this ID. And of course, the same, we can have this text. Let's see how we have this text. We can see it here. We can use this. Like response choices, we can see what we got. This is answer, see? But this is not the last. We still have something to take. The content is what we want, and we can see there is a list, right? Why there is a list? Because see this one, just this one, see, this is a list. So we only need to take the first of it. And finally, the actual text content is this. Let me see. This answer, because we have the list first, we have the message, and then we have this content. See, this is a finally string, right? The finally string. And we can have this by access these attributes. And what? It takes money. Remember, it's not that free for this. So how to billing it? Because it is based on the token. And the different model have the different price. Let's see the latest model. Yes. This message here gives a visual idea of token use and how you pay this. Remember, this unit is 1 million tokens, so it's not too expensive, especially look, the nano 1 million only 1 cent. So it's cool. And what exactly is a token in large model language model? A token is the basic unit of the context because like one word, or it also can split text into a series of these tokens which then get mapped to numbers. A token can be a whole word or a part of word, a subword, like, or even a single characters. It depends on the model's tokenizer. And OpenAI even give us a like here. I'm Zoe. Nice to meet you. I'm an AI software developer. And here is the tokens. I am, look, this is one token, and Zoe is one token, and here total have the 14 tokens. And we also can check the token use in the response their usage. Here is the usage. We can have this. The completion token is the number of token generation generated in the response, and promo token is our query usage, and the total tokens is clearly the total. Okay, so now we can have our response now, right? We can see this response. I'm Zoe. See you next time.